Well, it's round two. Neighbors in Santa Ana say the city isn't scoring any points with them by being so secretive over trying to bring a soccer team to town. David Nazar, what's the story?
Rick, that is a story. As we've been reporting, the angry neighbors, many of whom live in the Washington Square area, say they want to know what's going on between the lines. They remain convinced that the city of Santa Ana has a deal in the works to try and bring Chivas USA to either Eddie West Stadium or the Willow Wick Golf Course. And while Mayor Miguel Polito still remains silent, Councilman Vince Sarmiento is speaking to us. Major League Soccer's Chivas USA has seen a dwindling fan base ever since it began playing its games at the Home Depot Center in Carson back in 2004. Realizing this and possibly trying to capitalize on a good business deal, Santa Ana city officials acknowledge they've been in talks with Chivas over the last 4 years. Councilman Vince Sarmiento maintains the talks have resurfaced and are in the very preliminary stages. And when the time is right, the city will include its residents on any potential deal. For now, Sarmiento explains the benefits of having Chivas in Santa Ana.
Santa Ana competes well because I think there's a lot of fans here who like soccer. There's a lot of young kids who like soccer. Orange County would I think, benefit from having a professional team here. You talk about jobs, you talk about commerce and development that are ancillary to any professional team coming here.
Sarmiento also says from a strategic standpoint, Santa Ana is a much better venue for Chivas than Carson.
Here in Santa Ana, we have so many leagues that soccer leagues and such a dense city, and this part of the county doesn't have a professional team, and most folks won't travel to the Home Depot Center, which is in Carson. They'd be more willing to come to the county seat, the center of the county, and we have great access points through rail, through freeways and surface streets. It'd be an easy place for many to access.
Tim Rush disagrees. Rush is co-chair of the Santa Ana Grassroots Neighborhood Organization trying to put a stop to all of this.
Well, no question that a soccer team or any kind of a professional sports team might be a boon to the local economy. However, there's an awful lot of evidence, which anyone can find on the internet, that would dispute that a pro sports team of any type is at the end of the day a good bargain for municipalities.
Rush says what's so maddening is the fact the city simply won't level with the residents and disclose what's going on.
When we put on our public records request, the city has refused to give us any information. So you're going to tell me that after 4 years you have no work product? I don't buy that, and neither is anybody else.
Possibly the city could still be in an information gathering and fact-finding phase of all of this. Maybe
after 4 years?
Well, maybe you folks are overreacting.
Well, see, here's the problem. We feel we should have been brought into this process early on, and that is absolutely the case. Santa Ana has developed an immoral tradition of doing the public's business out of public view, and that's wrong.
Councilman Sarmiento says the city has not been secretive. He says there's just not much to tell right now. Sarmiento promises the city will meet with neighbors to get their input and discuss their concerns over things like traffic, noise, property value, and stadium location, just to name a few.
If anything, we'd be irresponsible if we didn't listen to either the NFL or the NBA or the MLS.
The council has an obligation to go out and seek input from the stakeholders.
And again, Councilman Sarmiento says there are many options of where Chivas could play, possibly a brand new soccer stadium to be built at the 100-acre Willow Wick Golf Course, or even somewhere off the 55 freeway where he says there are a multitude of acres of vacant warehouse space for another construction site of the stadium. Rick?
Well, David, there's been reports that Chivas USA is talking to other cities too. What's a possibility Santa Ana is just being played in this? They're being used for leverage and that this will not come to anything?
There obviously could be that possibility. Sarmiento told me that, yes, Chivas is possibly looking at even 5 other cities. They don't want to get into the situation that Anaheim got into, where the Maloof brothers were sort of wheeling and dealing the stadium, and finally they're getting a new stadium built in Sacramento, thus no Sacramento Kings in Anaheim. Sarmiento is aware of that and says, look, it could happen, and maybe that's why they're being so secretive right now. They just don't want to ruin a potential deal.
Well, I'm not sure Anaheim's being used anymore, are they? I mean, but let's not get into that. But I think the folks in Anaheim might say they've still got a real good chance of getting that team if the stadium is not built in Sacramento. But anyways, Speaking of the mayor here, Mayor Polito, where the heck is he? I mean, I couldn't imagine Antonio Villaraigosa in L.A. just sitting back and letting other people talk about something like this. Where is he?
Honestly, I don't get it, nor do any of the other reporters with the Register or Voice of OC or whomever wants to try and speak with him. I requested to speak with him again on this story, and his administrative assistant said there was nothing going on and he didn't have much to say. Of course, Sarmiento really was a wealth of knowledge, so for a non-deal, there really is a lot of information out there. At some point, I think it would behoove Mayor Polito to say, hey, here's what's going on. Even at this very infantile stage, we're going to meet with the residents and let them know what's happening.
I mean, there's something refreshing about a politician who isn't always jumping in front of a camera, but I think Miguel's taking it to an extreme here. And, you know, David, is there a political angle to this? Tim Rush, the fellow who's leading the neighborhood charge, does he have political affiliations? Is he an anti-Polito person?
That's a good question. He's not. He's actually, I asked him, I believe is a senior vice president for the local branch of Prudential Realty. He's a real estate guy and he's in marketing and real estate. He has nothing against the council. He even mentions, look, 20, 25 years ago, the city tried to bring in an NBA basketball team back then, and the residents rejected it for the same reason. They don't want the noise, they don't want the traffic, they don't want the property values to decrease. So he's just saying, look, and by the way, I asked him also, is this maybe a white folk versus Hispanic folk thing? I asked him, please be honest, and he said, no, their neighborhood is split down the middle and there is a melting pot of various folks who live out there. And he said, look, we just don't want to have a team in our area for the reasons we mentioned in the story.
Okay, well, we'll keep following this one because I know there are a lot of people in Santa Ana that would love to have a professional soccer team, and it could be a boost for the image of the city. So we'll have to keep following this one.